Good morning and welcome to Options Center. We'll be taking a look at ABNB. Just so happened we just got back from a work vacation and we stayed at an Airbnb. So we're going to take a look at this. That's not exactly why. We have a great setup there, just by chance. And also on the market video, we'll be looking at IWM, the small caps, because I think those are ready to start moving to the upside once again. So we're up above here on the trending indicator. It's kind of our momentum indicator. It's the 8 EMA that we use on all time frames. I'm not going to go through IWM here. We're going to go ahead and jump into Airbnb. So thanks for joining us. Okay, we're going to go through the monthly time frame all the way down to 65, and we're going to check out some indicators on the weekly and the daily. And once again, I want to remind people to go ahead and switch if this is, I'm going to talk a little bit slower, so go ahead and switch to that play speed at about 1.5. It'll allow you to watch the whole video. All right, we have the monthly time frame on Airbnb where we have this support area that I drew in from the IPO, held at support here, all the way through here, all these spikes, and I used the bodies here. And then once we got below it, acted as resistance, resistance, resistance all the way through, and now we're back on it as support. So super good position here, and the 8 EMA is headed to the upside along with our trend indicator of the 20 simple moving average moving to the upside. So if you had to decipher the two, this would be momentum and this would be trend. Okay, so the trend is up, momentum indicator, we're trying to get back on top of that at support. Let's move down to the weekly. On the weekly time frame, here's a I should do a video on Square pretty soon here too. I think a lot of these small caps are going to start moving to the upside along with IWM. And so we have quite a few calls on items like PayPal, Square, and I'll go through a lot of those. Boeing was working very well for us with the Dow finally getting a bounce. Now with the Airbnb on the weekly time frame, it's a better look at the support area. You see all these spots here acting as support and now resistance here, and once again support. And we also have the confluence of this uptrend line. So really good spot here. Now on the weekly, we're underneath that 8 EMA, so we have some work to do. All right, bounced off the 50 simple moving average, a lot of support underneath, but there's some work to be done to start firming up, and on the lower time frames, making that market structure, the bullish market structure. So we'll look at those in the lower time frames. Now some indicators. We have our regular options center set up here with the MACD, RSI, and the slow stoch. And you notice that the MACD is down to the neutral point. That's going to act as support and is starting to curl. You see the histogram getting a lighter red, and then after it crosses, we'll start to see some green here. We're at support on the RSI on a higher time frame uptrend. Usually around 40 to 30 on the RSI will act as support, and you notice that back here as well. Okay, and looking at the slow stoch, we're getting this very early buy indicator. We need to see this go above the 20 as a buy signal, but this is an early crossover here, so that's a good indication that the downside move is over. All right, also I want to show you we have a reversal set up here, and the only difference would be the Williams %R, and that's starting to get that cross right now. That's a buy signal, that's a buy setup there. Some people use that solely for their buys, and this is on the weekly time frame, so we should see weeks to months of this move to the upside. Looking at the awesome oscillator, you notice that the bars here are still in the bullish territory after the correction, just coming right down to the neutral point. So that should, sometimes you get a little dip underneath, and then you resume. And also, there's points where it doesn't even get down to the actual zero line, and then continues to head to the upside. Let's look at the DMARC sequence. Now we have a 9 sell signal up here, and then a 9 buy signal up here. So the selling exhaustion seems to be over, and on the weekly time frame, we're getting an inside bar here. We may end the week like this. We'll have to see what this bar does, and that would just create a lot of tension, like a spring. And we had the inside week last week as well, so 2 inside weeks would be setting up a pretty big move. But we'll see how this week ends. That's why we set up our trades out to June 21st, so we have some time on this. I do think June 14th would work, but you're just pushing it. You need to give yourself a little bit more time. The Bollinger Bands, you see those tightening up. And then you have the volume profile. This is a pretty important one. It just happens to have all this volume right where we're sitting right now. So this is going to act as a volume shelf, and it could act as a launch pad. All right, now let's move down to the daily. Daily trend is our friend. I marked the point of control. It's the same on the daily time frame. We can look at that real quick with the volume. You have the 2 nodes here. We're at this major node right now as support. And also notice that we have the 200-day moving average right here. This thick white line came down to it, testing it and holding above. That's really bullish along with that trend line. We have lots of support underneath this trade. So this is, you don't get these trades very often. I think this is why I'm doing this one first before I go amongst the others. They're not quite set up yet. Now we do have a possible wedge, that a bearish falling wedge, but I also drew the channel because if we get up to these points, we're not going to hold at the 178 area anyway, that being resistance. But you get above there, then you start to break out from this falling or rising wedge, and you can continue higher, possibly to the top of a channel, and then you have more resistance up here as well. Now, I kind of marked these. I did go to the daily, but I got to show back here on the weekly. Look at this this area. This is kind of a you get the lower end of a channel, the higher end, and then the lower end. All we're doing is getting it back above into that channel. So I do think we'll get back to that channel top there. That will be a good spot for price to end up. It's just a natural spot for it to go to on the upside. Go back to the daily, and then we'll look at the Elliott wave. I don't have a whole lot set up here, but I do have the lower time frame projections, and that is the 162% and the 100%. And I'll show you a little bit lower, but that I just wanted to show you in the daily because it comes right into that 100 simple moving average and the 50 simple moving average as well. So that's right around the 155 area, this zone here. Just keep that in mind as I go down to the lower time frames. I'll show you real quick the indicators. The options tender indicator, we're finally getting this bullish cross here on the MACD and the daily time frame, so that's a really good setup in itself. The RSI was oversold, now it's a neutral point, and the slow stoch might start oscillating to the upside. We'll see if it gets above, but it could start moving very similar to this here. As long as we stay above that 50 line there, it should be bullish. All right, as we start to see price move to the upside. Reversal. getting a little bit overbought there. Again, no divergences or anything like that. This could just oscillate above the negative 50 in this situation. Our DMARC, we have the 13 count exhaustion, the sell exhaustion. So that's a good buy signal as well. And I showed the volume profile already. We're sitting on that shelf right now. And so let's go down to the 65. Okay, on the 65 minute, here's just the projections here. How did I get these projections? We have this initial impulse move up here. So you have the top and the retracement down to this point. That would be, I don't have it marked here, but that would be a 1-2 setup. So naturally, the wave 3 typically, not naturally, typically would get up to the 154 extension, and then you'd have a retracement and then a move higher. Now, this being a inverse head and shoulder, there's another way that you can measure this, and that's the head. So you have the left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and this, the neckline here at the 148. So the distance, the 100% extension from this move would give us a measured move to the 140, about 155 area. So that's how I got this zone. This would be our target. It's within this gap. Price can move certainly higher than that point, but that would be a good spot to take profit. Now looking at the traditional technical analysis, here is what we're mapping out right now. So I posted the trade alert on YouTube and on the Patreon. Notice that I started that YouTube membership. I do encourage everybody to go over there. It's going to be less expensive for the same amount of information. So right now we have this falling wedge that we broke out of, and all we're doing is back testing this wedge. And I did draw the channel out because we'll probably have a little bit of difficulty with this channel and the 200 simple moving average on this time frame. And notice that that's right in our zone of the 150, 155 area. So we might spike through there, get a retracement, and then start moving above. But we know that when we get above and stay above this channel and also this 200 moving average, that's very bullish, and we should see some more upside. See how the 200 moving average works really well in an uptrend. All right. Now, digging in a little bit deeper, we're looking at this possibly being the neckline up here, and this holding, it did not. So I'm going to take that out. I think it's more symmetrical here with this, the neckline that I was talking about earlier at the 148. Now you see that this is a channel where price is bouncing back and forth, broke down from it, regained it. Now it's just going back and forth again. Couldn't break above it today, and is retracing one more time. But what I'm noticing is that this is just forming bullish market structure. So we're getting a high, low, higher high, and a higher low. Okay, so this to me looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then on an even lower time frame, 1, 2 setup. So this is really getting tight price action. We have great support underneath us, and this will get coiled up, and we'll probably see a nice large move pretty soon here. Now, where do we go wrong? I think right under here at the 143 zone, you start getting underneath there, and this scenario is looking a lot less likely. Yes, it could be a flat pattern before moving higher, but it's just getting. I wouldn't hold on to that trade underneath 143. That would be our stop, and that also coincides with this gap under here. I'll add that right in there. So this gap should hold, and we should see higher prices from here. So thanks for joining us here at Options Center. We'll see you in the next video.